So, you're thinking about a career in Montessori education? That is awesome. It's such a rewarding path. But I bet there's one big question that's probably on your mind. How am I going to pay for the training? Well, if that sounds familiar, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to break it all down and give you a super practical guide to make that dream totally achievable. Let's jump right in.
Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll talk about the investment itself. Then, we'll decode what the costs actually are. After that, we'll get into crafting your financial plan, unlocking financial aid, and finally, we'll lay out your next steps. By the time we're done here, you're going to have a really clear path from how to let's do this.
All right, first up, the investment question. Look, I get it. The cost of training can feel like this huge, scary hurdle. But let's try to reframe that a little. This isn't just a barrier. It's really the first big investment you're making in what could be an incredibly fulfilling career. And, like any smart investment, it all starts with really understanding the numbers.
Okay, so this is it, right? The big question that's on pretty much everyone's mind. Before you can even start to plan, you got to know what you're planning for. So, what does it really, truly cost?
For most online Montessori training programs, you're generally looking at a range somewhere between, say, $5,000 and $15,000. And yeah, I know, that's a big number. It can feel a little bit like a gut punch when you first see it. But hang in there with me, because that's exactly what we're going to do next. We're going to break this down and make it feel way, way more manageable.
Okay, so now we're diving into decoding those costs. The best way to deal with any big, scary number is to just break it into smaller pieces. Once you can actually see all the little parts that make up the whole, that total cost, it just becomes a lot less intimidating. You can actually wrap your head around it. So that one big price tag you see, it's really made up of a few different things. Of course, the biggest chunk is the tuition itself. That's for the program and the instruction. But you'll also probably see a materials fee for your coursework, maybe an exam fee for getting that official certification. And you'll want to budget a little for required reading, books and other resources. See, when you break it down like this, it's not one giant monster of a cost anymore. It's just a few smaller, predictable expenses that you can actually plan for.
Okay, which brings us perfectly to our next section, crafting your financial plan. I want you to think of this as building a bridge. It's the blueprint for your personal bridge that gets you from where you are right now to your new career as a Montessori educator. And a good plan? Well, that's what makes the whole journey possible.
And this blueprint is super simple. It's just 3 steps. Step 1, calculate your total cost. Use that breakdown we just went over to get a real number. Step 2, take a look at your personal savings. Be honest about what you can contribute. And then step 3, find the difference between those 2 numbers. That's it. That's your funding gap. Now you have a specific, concrete number to focus on.
So you've got your funding gap number. Now what, right? Well, welcome to the next piece of the puzzle, unlocking financial aid. And I really want you to think about this differently. This isn't about asking for a handout. It's about opening up a toolkit full of resources that are literally designed to help people just like you succeed.
Okay, so 2 of the biggest tools in that kit are scholarships and payment plans. Scholarships are kind of the holy grail, right? It's money you don't have to pay back. Yeah, you've got to fill out some applications, but trust me, it is so worth the effort. Payment plans are a little different. The training center itself usually offers them. They don't actually lower the total cost, but they make it so much easier to handle by just spreading it out into smaller, monthly payments.
And hey, the options don't stop there. You should definitely look into grants from different educational foundations. If you're already working at a school, you have got to ask about employer sponsorship programs. There are also low-interest educational loans, and you can even get creative with things like crowdfunding. The key is to just think broadly here.
This quote really sums it up perfectly. Seeking financial aid is not a handout. It's a strategic partnership in your own professional development. You're partnering with people and organizations who believe in you and want to see you succeed. It's a total mindset shift.
Okay, wow, we have covered a ton of ground. So for this final section, we're going to shift gears. We're moving from planning and learning to doing. It's time to actually turn this plan into a reality. So here it is, your action checklist, the things you can do right now. First, start requesting those detailed cost breakdowns from the programs you're interested in. Second, sit down and create that personal budget using our 3-step blueprint. Then, start that research. Make a list of potential scholarships and grants. And finally, reach out to the training centers about their payment plans. And, this one's important, set a hard deadline for yourself to get that first application in. This is how you start building real momentum. And that's it. We've reached the end. The journey to becoming a Montessori educator is so exciting, and hopefully you can see now that the financial part, it's totally manageable when you have a plan. So I'm going to leave you with this one question. Looking at that checklist we just went over, what is the very first thing, even if it's small, that you're going to do today to move your dream forward?